Imagine you're sitting at home, just scrolling through your phone when suddenly, every news channel starts flashing the same terrifying headline. Asteroid on a collision course with Earth. You look up at the sky. It's clear, calm, beautiful, even. But somewhere out there, hurtling toward us at 40,000 miles per hour, is a rock the size of a mountain. And in exactly 7 days, it's going to hit us. Now this isn't some Hollywood fantasy. This has happened before. 66 million years ago, an asteroid slammed into what's now Mexico and wiped out the dinosaurs. And here's the really scary part. Astronomers estimate there are over 25,000 near-Earth asteroids we're currently tracking. And those are just the ones we know about. So what would actually happen if one of these space rocks had our name on it? Would we even see it coming? How much time would we have? And most importantly, could we survive? Today, we're going to walk through the terrifying reality of an asteroid impact, day by day, and then minute by minute. Trust me, it's way worse than what the movies show you. Let's dive in. So let's start at the beginning. How would we even know an asteroid is coming? Well, right now, NASA has an entire program dedicated to this called the Planetary Defense Coordination Office. Yeah, that's a real thing. They use telescopes scattered around the globe to track anything that comes within 30 million miles of Earth. Sounds like a lot, right? In space terms, that's basically your neighbor's driveway. But here's where it gets interesting. Most asteroids that could actually end civilization are what scientists call city killers, or larger. We're talking rocks bigger than 300 feet across. The good news? We found about 95% of the truly massive ones, the ones over half a mile wide. The bad news? That still leaves thousands of smaller asteroids, any one of which could take out an entire city, and we have no idea where they are. Now let's say astronomers spot one, a big one. They run the calculations, check and double-check the trajectory, and their hearts sink. It's headed straight for Earth. Impact in 6 months. What happens next? At first, it would be kept quiet. Governments, space agencies, and military officials would all be brought into the loop. Emergency meetings in secure bunkers. Frantic phone calls at 3 in the morning. Scientists would be running simulation after simulation, hoping they made a mistake somewhere, praying the math is wrong. But eventually, they'd have no choice. The public would have to know. Imagine that press conference. The NASA administrator steps up to the podium, face pale, hands shaking slightly as they grip their notes. We've detected an asteroid approximately 1 kilometer in diameter. That's 6/10 of a mile for those of us in the US. Projections indicate a 98% probability of Earth impact. The room would erupt. Questions shouted from every direction. And then the world would change. Stock markets would crash within hours. Some people would quit their jobs. Others would try to flee to remote locations, hoping to escape the impact zone. Religious gatherings would overflow. And everyone would be glued to their screens, watching the countdown tick down day by day. But here's what most people don't realize. The impact itself? That's just the beginning of the nightmare. Impact day, the first seconds. Let's fast forward. It's impact day. Let's say this asteroid is going to hit somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, a few hundred miles off the coast of Portugal. At this point, you can actually see it with the naked eye. It looks like a second sun, growing brighter and brighter as it screams through the atmosphere. Then impact. The asteroid hits the ocean at 40,000 miles per hour. To put that in perspective, that's 57 times the speed of sound. The kinetic energy released is equivalent to 10 billion tons of TNT. That's roughly 670,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. In the first millisecond, the ocean simply vaporizes. We're talking millions of gallons of water turned instantly into superheated steam. The asteroid punches through 3 miles of ocean and slams into the seafloor, creating a crater 12 miles wide and 20 miles deep. The bedrock itself melts on contact. A blinding flash of light erupts, brighter than 1,000 suns. If you're within 500 miles and happen to look directly at it, you're instantly blinded. The thermal radiation alone would give you third-degree burns from 600 miles away. That's like standing in New York City and getting burned by something happening in Atlanta. But we're just getting started. The shockwave and fireball. Within seconds, a shockwave explodes outward in all directions. This isn't like a bomb shockwave. This is a wall of compressed air moving at hypersonic speeds, flattening everything in its path. Trees, buildings, and cars are gone. Erased. If you're within 100 miles, you don't even hear it coming. You're just gone. Vaporized by the heat, crushed by the pressure wave, or buried under the collapsing ruins of everything around you. But let's say you're farther away. You're in London, about 1,000 miles from the impact. You've been watching the news. You know it's coming. You're in your basement, huddled with your family, and then... First, the ground starts shaking. Not like an earthquake, more like the entire planet is ringing like a bell. Glass shatters. Pictures fall off the walls. The shaking goes on for minutes, waves of seismic energy radiating out from the impact point like ripples in a pond. Except this pond is the entire Earth. Then about 4 minutes after impact, you hear it. A sound so loud it doesn't even register as sound anymore. It's just pure pressure rattling your bones, making your ears bleed. Windows that somehow survived the shaking now explode inward. Car alarms across the entire city start blaring at once. And you realize we're over 1,000 miles away, and it's this bad. What about the people closer? The mega-tsunami. Remember, this thing hit the ocean. And when you drop something that massive into water at that speed, you create waves. But we're not talking about normal tsunami waves. Within minutes, a wall of water 500 feet tall, maybe more, starts racing outward in all directions. That's taller than a 40-story building. A skyscraper of water moving at 500 miles per hour. It reaches the coast of Portugal in under 15 minutes. Cities, towns, villages, everything within 10 miles of the coast is simply erased. Millions of people were swept away in seconds. The wave continues inland, surging up rivers, flooding valleys, destroying everything in its path for dozens of miles. But it doesn't stop there. This mega-tsunami crosses the entire Atlantic Ocean. 3 hours later, it slams into the east coast of the United States. New York, Boston, Miami, Charleston, every coastal city is devastated. The wave surges miles inland, and by the time it's done, tens of millions are dead. The same thing happens on the coast of Africa. Spain, France, the United Kingdom, the coastlines are completely rewritten in a single day. The nuclear winter. But believe it or not, the worst is still to come. Remember that massive explosion? All that vaporized rock, water, and debris, it didn't just disappear. Trillions of tons of material were blasted straight up into the atmosphere. Some of it even reached space. But what goes up must come down. Within hours, molten rock and debris start raining down across the entire planet. Imagine a meteor shower, except instead of tiny streaks of light, these are chunks of superheated rock the size of cars, falling everywhere, setting forests ablaze on every continent. And then the sky goes dark. All that dust and ash in the atmosphere blocks out the sun. Temperatures around the world plummet. Within weeks, it feels like winter everywhere on Earth. Crops die. Plants can't photosynthesize. The entire food chain starts to collapse from the bottom up. This is what killed the dinosaurs. Not the impact itself, but the years of darkness and cold that followed. Scientists call it an impact winter, and it could last for years. Maybe even a decade. Global temperatures could drop by 20 or 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Imagine permanent winter, everywhere, all the time. Most plants die. Then the herbivores die. Then the carnivores. Within a year, maybe 75% of all species on Earth could be gone. Including it is quite possible for us. So could humanity actually survive something like this? Honestly, it depends on the size. If we're talking about a dinosaur killer, a rock 6 miles across or bigger, then probably not. At least not most of us. Civilization as we know it would collapse. Billions would die in the initial impact and the tsunamis. Billions more would starve in the impact winter that follows. But here's the thing, we're not dinosaurs. We have technology. We know. We can see these things coming, sometimes years or even decades in advance. And that changes everything. NASA and other space agencies are actively working on asteroid deflection technology. In 2022, they successfully crashed a spacecraft into an asteroid called Dimorphos and changed its orbit. It was a test to prove that we can actually do something about this threat. If we have enough warning, 10 years or more, we could potentially deflect an asteroid with a large enough mission. Multiple spacecraft, nuclear devices, used not to blow it up, but to give it a gentle push, changing its trajectory just enough that it misses Earth entirely. But that's the key word. Warning. We need to see it coming. That's why programs like NASA's planetary defense are so crucial. We need better telescopes, more funding, more international cooperation. Because the sad truth is, right now, there are asteroids out there we don't know about. And any one of them could have our name on it, so what's the takeaway here? Should we be panicking? Honestly, no. The odds of a civilization-ending impact happening in our lifetime are extremely low. We're talking about a 1 in several million chance in any given year. But zero risk? That doesn't exist. This has happened before, and it will happen again. It's just a matter of when. The good news is, for the first time in the history of life on Earth, there's a species that can actually do something about it. We can track these threats. We can plan for them. And if we're smart, if we invest in the right technology and take this seriously, we can protect ourselves. The dinosaurs didn't have a space program. We do, and that might just be the thing that saves us. So the next time you look up at the night sky and see a shooting star, take a moment to appreciate how vast and beautiful the universe is. But also remember it's not always friendly. And staying vigilant might just be the most important thing we ever do. Thanks for watching. If you found this video fascinating or terrifying or both, make sure to hit that subscribe button because we dive into mind-bending topics like this all the time. And let me know in the comments if you had 6 months warning about an asteroid impact. What would you do? Would you try to survive? Where would you go? I'm genuinely curious. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep looking up.